Good afternoon, everybody. This after-lunch session is popularly known as the graveyard slot, as you're probably aware, so I'll try to ensure there's a bit more useful in the graveyard for you. Actually, on the topic that we are going to be covering, I've got over 5 hours information, and I've only got 30 minutes to cover it and share it with you. So what I will do is I'll give you as much as I can in the time, and then at the end, if you feel you'd like more, I'll show you how you can get it if you want it. So let's crack on. Basically, you have chosen to attend a seminar with the title How to Build an Exceptional Recruitment Business. And so presumably that's what you want to do. What about exceptional? What do we mean by exceptional? Well, the dictionary definition gives us unusual, not typical, unusually good. And I ask you to consider for a moment, are you currently an exceptional business under those headings? And if you're not, I presume you're aspiring to be so. If you claim that you are, then good. It won't hurt to be even more exceptional. So why do you want to build an exceptional business? And I suggest probably the answers are likely to be you want to be more successful, you want to create more value in the business, and you want to try and get something which is sustainable in both good and bad times. So let's refer to the definition again: unusual and not typical. Now, many of our clients, as I'm sure you're aware, claim that all agencies are the same. There's not much to choose between us. Are they? Do you think so? Do you feel that many of our agencies are indeed the same, and that as an industry we are very similar? Actually, I agree in most cases that is true, and I'm going to come back to that in a section. But I do believe that you need to be different to be exceptional. And are you different? And thereby becoming a bit more exceptional. Because unless you're different, it's very difficult to out-accelerate the competition. I've got a couple of war stories, and that perhaps is the justification of why I'm standing up here today to cover. One is that I was the founding director of Select Appointments in 1983, which was a high street operation. It's now what it is, but at that point was essentially starting up from scratch in High Street, and we built it to a pre-tax profit of 3 million in the first 4 years, and that growth was all non-acquisition. It was all organic growth. I suggest that helps to qualify as exceptional. We had to have been doing something pretty different in a highly competitive market at that time to have achieved that. So what did we do? More in a moment. Secondly, in Abacus, which we started a 5-year growth plan in January 1994 to build a business and sell it in 5 years. It already existed, but we really needed to ramp it up. And when I tell you that within that 5 years we were the top growth stock on the AIM market on 2 consecutive years, then clearly we were getting a lot right in a very highly competitive arena again. And we did indeed sell the business, Fluke, within 5 years, the last week of the 5 years, for 16 million. So it would be fair to assume again that was an exceptional operation. Now what I want to stress though is that both those operations were both strategic and different. I'm going to cover a little bit about the strategic and a lot more about the different. First of all, you need to make the transition, which many of you may have already made. I don't know clearly what sort of state at the moment, but you need to make the transition from sales management to business management and become strategic. And if I were to define sales management, I would say it's concerned with maximising the current gross profit of the business. That's sales management. And typically, if you're making any success in recruitment, the sales management has to be pretty good. But you need to be strategic, and that means that you have to develop business management, which is concerned with maximising the long-term value of the business, a different mindset. So I said that Select and Abacus were both strategic, and yes, we were. And for most owners and managers, it is, however, a situation where we just run the business as well and as profitably as we can. We're trying to do all that we can to develop the maximum profitability. Fine, good. Excellent. But that really fits into what I would call business planning. And I think you need to have some strategic planning, which is a whole big ball game of its own. but effectively it covers the long-term view as opposed to the next 12 months and the ambition that you have for the business in the long term. And what this enables you to do, if you set it up properly, is you don't let it grow, you make it grow. And that's what the strategic planning should be helping you to achieve. So you need to adopt a strategic mindset to build an exceptional business. And I said that they were both, Select and Abacus, were strategic, but I also said they were, remember the word, different. And that's the main thing that I want to talk about. You need to dare to be different. I suggested earlier that many of our clients regard all agencies as the same, and if you are the same, then you're not different, then they don't perceive you as having anything different to offer, and perhaps therefore you cannot be exceptional. How many people here who are running a recruitment business believe that their business is different? Okay, good. It's important that you should believe that's the case to start with. The question is, of course, are you, and could you be more so? Because those of you who've done so, do you know that your competitors don't do the same thing? Do you know they don't? Because many people say, we're different because all our recruitment consultants in chartered surveying are themselves chartered surveyors, and therefore that makes us different. Does it? It's better, probably, possibly, but are there no other recruiters with chartered surveyors in your marketplace? In which case you're not different. So do you know that they don't do the same? And if you don't know, you should find out. Very important that you should know your competition. If you do know, and that some competitors do the same, then you're not different. And if you do know, but they don't offer the same stuff, great, then you've got some differentiation. But there is a great big so what that comes out in so many of the things I've heard over the years of my business is different because, and I say, yeah, but so what? Perception on your part is that it's different. Perception on the client may be that it's different. For instance, all our candidates turn up to work, whether it's temporary or permanent, on their first day with a banana. No one else does that. That's different. It is indeed different, but so what? Apart from perhaps avoiding a bit of cramp on the first day, I don't know. But being different has to be, therefore, something that is substantial. And I've said here, is it really beneficial to either or both of your customers? So you've only got 2 customers, have you? In my terminology, yes, you have 2 customers. You have your clients and you have your candidates. And they both are customers from the point of view of customer service and everything that therein is. They are my customers. And don't concentrate on one or the other at the expense of the other. Concentrate on them both. So when I talk about, as I shall be, customers, I'm referring to both of them. I talk about clients and I talk about candidates. When I'm talking about customers, I mean both. Now the rationale behind this making yourself different is that both your customers need compelling reasons why they should use your service as opposed to your competitors. Your consultants need powerful ammunition to fight the competition. It's not a me too. It's not just blind cold calling and spraying and praying with CVs. They need ammunition to fight the competition, and if you're different, they've got something to talk about and something to show. And you need logical reasons, which are added value, to maintain your margins, because we're all under pressures of margins at any time in our industry, but certainly, of course, in recessionary times, it's arguably even worse. And if there's anyone here who hasn't got any sort of pressure on their pricing, then let me know, because I think you're different. But the clue to this is that if you can get some serious differentiation in your offering, then you've got some chance of maintaining, or at least not reducing so much, your margins, because you've got something to offer that your customer, in this case the client, wants. So you therefore need to be really different to the competition. Now I mentioned that Abacus started a 5-year strategic plan in January 1993, and the owner of Abacus and I sat down in November, December 93, building this strategic plan. Between us, we had well over 50 years experience of the industry. We knew the industry very well. We'd been out and about in the country very well. We knew what was going on in our industry. And we spent 2 whole days only on trying to create some differentiation in the offering that we were going to make within this strategic plan. 2 whole days. And it's amazing to me that that was, when? Just at the end of 1993, so nearly 20 years ago. And just to give you an example, rebates. We were thinking, well, our clients perhaps don't like the standard rebate arrangement in our industry very much. Fair? So what could we do about that? And we came up with an answer. And it started off with this. At that time, 1993, we reckoned, and we had never been proved wrong since, that about 85% of the permanent contingency recruiters' terms of business gave a rebate facility for a period of time that was between 8 and 12 weeks, during which time, if the candidate fell out of bed for any reason other than redundancy, there was a sliding or step scale of rebate. Do you recognise that? Because that was in 1993, and if I was to do it again today, precisely the same statistic applies. It is still the same, 20 years later. We haven't moved on something as fundamental as that. Well, most of us haven't. I think there are more agencies now than there were then, so my 85% still works, and I've done it round rooms many times now, and it keeps hitting the note, yes, that is still the norm. And if you're one of those who are still the norm, then fine, I'm going to have an idea for you. Of course, there's been changes in the 20 years, mainly IT and internet related, but in terms of the underlying offering from the person as opposed to the machine and the IT stuff, it hasn't changed dramatically. And I believe that is a failing, but it's also an opportunity. We dreamt up on our 2 days, eventually, 20 differentiators between temporary and permanent. We were covering both. I hate the word USPs, or the acronym USPs. Why? Anyone? What's the middle letter stand for? Thank you. Mr. Client, I'd like to tell you about 1 or 2 of the unique selling propositions we have. Don't think so. No. So we never ever used USPs, but we did use the word differentiator or differentiation. Mr. Client, I'd like to tell you how we differentiate ourselves against our competitors. I'd like to tell you what differentiators we have put in place. That is a much better term than USPs. Okay, that's just terminology. But all the 20 that we derived passed the acid test that we devised for them. And that acid test was that they should be, first of all, tangible. Because many of the we're different claims that I've heard are I call fluff. Well, we're much more honest than our competitors are. Really? Well, you may be absolutely true, but as a client who's not using you at this point, I've got to use you to find out whether you're telling me porkies or not. So it isn't very tangible. Now, all our 20 differentiators were tangible, and I'll give you a little bit of an idea of that shortly. So they were tangible and therefore identifiable and in writing. And of course they were beneficial. They had to be beneficial, otherwise they were the banana. There was no great benefit in it. And they have to be beneficial for the clients, for the candidates, for your staff, and of course for the business. And they all help to create a perception of your service in the eyes of your customers. So no doubt you'd like to know something more about the 20 that we had. And I'll give you just one quick snippet. I haven't got time, it takes 5 or 6 hours to cover it, as I said. I'll give you some as much as I can. On this question of rebates, so we had got this 85% like this. So what could we do to blow them out of the water? Now, I'm not talking about your terms of business where there is also, or instead, an offer of a free replacement. I'm talking about money. what's paid, what gets paid back in the event of the placement falling apart. And what we said was, we don't want a rebate system. Again, terminology. We want an unconditional financial guarantee. What does that sound like versus the standard, they're all the same, rebate system? An unconditional financial guarantee which states that if the candidate falls out of bed for any reason other than redundancy, just the same as everyone else is, for a period of 100 days, which is a nice round number, it's actually 14.3 weeks because most people measure their rebates in weeks, which is of course longer than the standard probationary period that people have. So it took it longer than most people had in place. And during that period, if they fell out of bed, we will give you 100% of the fee back with no quibble immediately. Now, I can think of a lot of you thinking, oh, no thank you. And if that is crossing your mind, you've just got to think of it differently. Think of it differently. Now, put your hat on as a client now. And I am competing for your business versus your business with its current arrangements of the 25% standardisation. First of all, if I just told my client that's what we do, what does it say about me? Sorry?
Faith.
Faith, confidence. I'm confident, yes. And?
Flexible.
Flexible. I'm in it with you. I'm not here just to grab a quick buck and go. So it says the right things to start with. Now, if you're, keep your client hat on. Now you're listening. Now, as a client, well, okay, that sounds a lot better. And it's unconditional financial aid. That's good, that's good. Why wouldn't I do business with these people? I'm not saying that's the only reason, but already that's starting to make some sense. And for instance, PSLs. If you're offering that, then they may want you going to the PSL, but you are offering something quite different to what they will normally have required within PSL claims. Now, there's all sorts of stuff in this, and I can't go into it in all the detail, but all I'll say to you is there was one thing that the client had to do in order to qualify for this fantastic unconditional financial guarantee, and that was they had to pay within 14 days. Now, that wasn't negotiable. That was the deal. And don't say, oh, well, it isn't an unconditional financial guarantee, is it? Yes, it is. It's an unconditional financial guarantee which you purchase by buying it on time. Then it's unconditional. Buy within 14 days and you have this cover. No other rebate, refund, free replacement, anything else is considered absolutely out of pocket if you haven't settled within 14 days. And we made that abundantly clear endlessly through the process. Now, yes, please.
I'm just going to pose a challenge for you.
Please, yes.
Because having been around this loop many, many times and done this enough years, I would just challenge you and say, clients we've worked with don't want to even go there in their minds about the thought of failure in terms of the recruitment. And what they found to be much more positive and they'd be more welcoming towards is the offer of a free replacement if that candidate leaves within the time you've set. And we've experimented with this time and time again, but the thought process, even of your unconditional financial guarantee, is in their eyes sometimes a negative thought because it's all about what happens if it fails. It's all about it. So the person
Would we be in business very long if we kept paying our fees back at 100%? But clearly not. Is this commercial suicide? Clearly not.
Well, I know you're not like to
one other thing. Free replacement. Free replacement is going to be supplied by who? You.
Yeah.
Any other candidates I don't want to look at. I've got to have a free replacement from you. Now, if they've had 100% back from me, the ball is open. They can still take their new candidate from wherever they like. And they will look at us again because we're going to give another 100-day guarantee. And don't forget, this is one of 20. It's not the only thing. But I'm just trying to give you a flavour. Yeah. I'd love to carry on in the discussion, but we haven't got time to do that. But I take your point. So, you have the opportunity then to improve your collections. And you've got a much better with the process that we put underneath it, a much better connection with your client on the process. Now, I won't do any more about that, but that is just a starter, and please don't go and do it on Monday. Don't do it, because there's lots more you need to do to work it out and make it work and train it in, and how it's going to be messaged. There's training and marketing and practice to make the impact. But it's just giving you a flavour of one of them. One other small point I'll give you, which wasn't part of the 20. As then, in 1993, as now, 20 years later, a recruitment agency who wishes to do business with a client is required, by law, to send their terms of business. Yep. Okay. As a marketing tool, what is your terms of business like? Crap, I suggest. This is how much it's going to cost you, and here's all the small print we're going to trip you up with. Is that fair comment? The client's perception on it? Yes? Okay. Now, if you have got a lot of differentiation in place, which is tangible, which can be written about, we were able to have our terms of business at Abacus, which in those days, there is a difference here, we were able to get the temporary and the permanent full terms of business on the back of an A4 sheet. Now, it was fairly small print, but not stupidly small. I know what we're talking about now, pages of it, but okay. We had the front page of our terms of business, had what we did for these fees, and hey, look, here's what you get in terms of the guarantee on these fees. Consequently, our front page is indeed a marketing document, and the terms of business don't go out without that as page one of them. The rest of it, standard REC terms of business, fine. But basically, you start off with, because you've got some differentiation, telling them what you do for the money, and how you operate, and how it's different. Must be worth doing if you've got the differentiations in place. Now, I'm conscious of time. I am happy, if you wish, to just take any questions so far. I'd happily again do more with you if you like, or is there anyone else who's got a concern they might like to just vent on what we've got so far? Yes, sir.
What do you do now?
Sorry?
What do you do now?
I'm retired. But I do the odd thing like this. Yes, Chris.
Why do you suppose that most recruitment agencies don't do what you just suggested?
Why do I suppose they don't?
Yeah.
Does anyone in here already do this? 100%, 100 days. Where did you get it from?
Well, I suspect we might have seen you.
I think you might have done this. Okay. I did say 85%. So there is 15% who might be doing it differently. And
I go one stage further.
yes, go on then.
I do pay as they earn. With salespeople, if they get a target for a period of 1 year, they get a guarantee for 1 year based upon their annual target. If they hit 100% of the target that they're set, they pay me 100% of the fee. If they hit 200% of the target that they're set, they pay me 200% of the fee.
Right.
If they hit 25% of the target, they usually get fired, but they pay me 25% of the fee.
And what market are you in?
IT.
IT.
IT sales.
Yes, indeed. No, I assumed it was sales, which is fine. Good. I mean, frankly, great, because it's different. It's something where he's putting his money where his mouth is. What they don't like, of course, is the 200% job. But they've got a bloody good recruit, haven't they? So
Absolutely.
why do they marry? Yeah, absolutely. No, good. Okay. Right, well, look, I said at the beginning that I'd tell you more about how to get more information about this if you wanted to. So, if you do want to know more and understand the nitty-gritty of how to work that unconditional guarantee, plus the other 19 differentiators, then I can point you in the direction. But first of all, let me stress this. It's not easy to put these differentiators into place. It is not easy. It will require from you not a huge investment of money, but a lot of hard work and commitment to the differentiators, and making sure that the whole of your team are absolutely bought into the whole of your methodology. It has to, as we used to say, be in the muscle. The consultants believe in it and are happy to talk about it, not sell it, talk about it because they believe in it. It needs careful planning to put into place, because if there is to be serious differentiation, then necessarily you are going to be changing things that you've got at the moment. And there's change management issues in it, which need to be carefully planned so that the rest of the business doesn't fall over. It will certainly need some management leadership from you, and it will certainly need to be constantly reinforced. We had these 20 differentiators, and I know that over time what happens is what I call the wallpaper effect. And that is that if you change the wallpaper in the sitting room, first 3 days you walk in here, oh gosh, that's different, isn't it? And after a couple of weeks here, and after 2 months, you don't notice it anymore. And what happens is that your consultants don't promote it anymore. They don't believe in it quite so strongly. They've perhaps found some objections which they weren't able to handle, and it starts to very quickly disappear unless it's constantly reinforced and reinvigorated. So it will need to be followed through. But if you do carry it through, I guarantee huge returns for you. I really do guarantee you. So in conjunction with Mark Whitby, I've created 2 webinars. There's one covering the strategic framework for growth and increased value, which totals over 15 hours worth, and includes differentiation. And the second one, which is on differentiation only, that just the things I've been talking about this afternoon in this quick half hour, which is just over 5 hours. If that is of interest to you, then that is the link that you need, which is very easy to remember, www.recruitmentmillionaire.com, all one word, /differentiation. And once you've gone onto that site and you'll get there, you'll see there are 4 free videos for you to look at and to learn from if it helps you. If you register for a webinar before midnight on Tuesday and you use this special input code, which is easy to remember, it's Romney, then you're entitled to a £200 reduction on the price of the seminar, webinar. So, I believe that you need to dare to be different. I do believe that you're going to be a lot better if you are. So dare to be different, and don't forget, who dares wins.